Key point 1. 2 Pillars of Success. As explained by Rabbi Joseph in Lonely Man of Faith, we are composed of the Adam 1 and Adam 2 virtues. Adam 1 represents the factors contributing to our external success, such as our skills and knowledge. On the other hand, Adam 2 defines our inner self, which covers how kind, brave, or weak we are. We dedicate most of our lives to building Adam 1 because we believe it's of more importance to our existence. We diligently master various skills and strive for significant social victories, such as a successful career and public recognition. But our life is not solely a pursuit of success. It's also about believing in the good, belonging to something greater, and humbly adapting to unexpected change. Our existence is a combination of both virtues and self-awareness. Our identity and actions are two distinct aspects of our being, and aligning them is fundamental for building a good character. To find the way to our true selves, we must pay attention to what really matters. Our lives shouldn't revolve around solely enjoying the gifts of the earth. We must be willing to share the goodness within us with the world. There's joy in a life filled with interdependence with others, in a life filled with gratitude, reverence, and admiration. David Brooks. Drawing on his extensive history and statistical analysis knowledge, David Brooks offers valuable insights into common pitfalls in life and provides guidance on rectifying them. If you want to improve your character and redefine life's meaning, this summary will be helpful. Key point 2. Why humility is so powerful. In the earlier days of people like George W. Bush, humility was well practiced and adopted as a way of life. Throughout his presidential campaign, Bush consciously avoided excessive use of the word I because he believed it led to undue self-praise. But things have changed, and there's been a cultural shift veering away from humility and toward ego. When World War II ended in 1945, a special team took to the radio to spread humility. They accepted that their victory resulted not because they were better, but because they were brave. In those days, the prevailing mindset was that even though they took pride in their accomplishments, they did not consider themselves superior to others. This mentality starkly contrasts with our contemporary world. A football player, for example, who makes a 2-yard block on the pitch would roar in self-appraisal, beating his chest to say he's the best. We're more concerned about showing off than embracing humility in the modern world. The quest for fame is the driving force propelling most of our everyday actions. When researchers asked a group of teenage girls if they would prefer to be Justin Bieber's PA or the president of Harvard, 80% chose the first option. We have become obsessed with the paparazzi and the glamour of fame, often overlooking the bigger picture and seeing humility as a sign of weakness. The more we focus on ourselves and how other people see us, the more self-centered we can become. While narcissism might look bold on the outside, it often reveals that egoistic people are often fragile and conflicted within. In contrast, humble people are generally more confident in themselves because they see an extraordinary situation as ordinary. Humility leads to wisdom. It gives us the freedom to open ourselves to learning more because we understand that we don't know everything. There's no harm in having faith in our abilities. Confidence is a virtue. However, excessive confidence can become a stumbling block. Instead, we should cultivate self-respect, which champions recognizing our strengths while maintaining humility and respect for others. This mindset allows us to affirm our competencies, yet still appreciate the talents and values others bring, possibly even surpassing our own. Key point 3. Challenging times are profound teachers. When we face tragedies, adversities, or victories, we instinctively open ourselves to empathy toward one another. In the wake of an earthquake that rocked Chicago in 1906, people gathered to form a collective strength and rebuild. Dorothy Day, one of the survivors, reflected in her memoir, "While the crisis lasted, people loved each other. In the wake of tragedy, people become equal, and religious or material differences lose their meaning." Natural disasters, wars, and other large-scale catastrophes demonstrate how much we need each other and underscore the power of unity. We can look more boldly during difficult times and not just focus on ourselves. When bad things happen to people around us, it doesn't matter who gets hurt the most. In such moments, individualism and selfishness take a back seat as we realize how interconnected we are. At that point, it's not just about an individual, but society. Shared empathy creates a significant effect that lets everyone who suffers know they're not alone. People united by adversity become a healing force, facilitating recovery and renewal. We become humbled by the knowledge that unfortunate events could have happened to us. It allows us to recognize our vulnerability and teaches us to be more vigilant to prevent possible threats. Religion is one of the many ways to attain the humility required to care about the world. As emphasized by Dorothy Day, having a role model can be a powerful source of inspiration. For Christians, Jesus Christ's humility, illustrated by his alignment with the common people despite being chosen to deliver God's word, serves as a model. We must learn this lesson to live a happy life together, not putting ourselves above others and remembering our interdependence. At some point, we will need a friend's shoulder to cry on, which means we must be willing to give them ours. It's crucial to make sure we treat others with kindness and respect. We must be ready to show empathy and compassion to those around us and be open to understanding their needs and experiences. Difficult times teach us that through mutual help and support, we can preserve our humanity and build a better future. Key point 4. Unpleasant moments can fuel success. Some of the most successful people in business are people who struggled to learn in school. The average GPA of self-made billionaires is around a low B. Recovering from suffering is not like recovering from a disease. Many people don't come out healed. They come out different. David Brooks. Sometimes the decision to succeed comes from difficult memories of being rejected or ignored. Formal education was challenging for George Catlett Marshall when he was a teenager. He struggled to present in front of the class and obtained low grades. Despite these struggles, he went on to become a war hero, a former Secretary of State, and a Nobel Prize laureate. What changed George wasn't education or prolonged advice from his parents. What inspired him was a private conversation he accidentally overheard. George wanted to join Virginia Military Institute, VMI, with his brother, but on a fateful day, he overheard his brother telling his mom not to let him go. His brother explained that George would disgrace the family name, making things more difficult for them in their trying times. At that moment, George convinced himself to prove his brother wrong and prove that he wasn't as useless as they thought. The VMI gave George a dream and a goal to become a hero, and he tried his best to live up to it. He had a clear vision of what he wanted to become and relentlessly pursued it. Sometimes our greatest moments come from unpleasant situations, but we can use them as inspiration to become better people. Instead of dwelling on the negative, we can look for the positive lesson from a challenging experience. We can use our struggles to become stronger and wiser. There's no limit to what we can achieve if we put our minds to it. It's not enough to have a conviction. We must do what it takes to succeed. George Catlett Marshall's example shows that goal motivation can be different. Even if we're the only person who believes in our success at first, things can work out, and we can change others' opinions about our capabilities and talents. Did you know? Albert Einstein, one of the most famous men in science, dropped out of school at 15 due to academic challenges. Key point 5. Sometimes love is suffocating. Nearly everyone yearns for love because it makes us feel meaningful and necessary. While it's true that love and attention are essential, we shouldn't demand them at the expense of others. We often get too selfish with our desire for attention, making things difficult for the people around us. But life is about compromise because people won't have the same views on different issues. Balancing another person's view with our own makes reaching a consensus about many things easier. Marianne was born into a devoted Christian family when religion's ideas started losing ground to scientific facts. She was separated from her mother, who was ill during her childhood, and sent to a boarding school as a little girl. Her family called Anne back home to care for her mother and siblings when her mother became ill with breast cancer some years later. Growing up, she lacked the motherly love that she deserved, and her brother, whom she tried to form a bond with, soon grew tired of her and moved on with his life. The lack of affection at a tender age meant Anne craved attention. Desperate to fill the void left by her mother, who died from cancer, Anne devoted her life to Christianity. Her religious belief was on the side of near extremism because she became too obsessed with being religious. Her spiritual beliefs affected everyone around her, and she had difficulty making friends until she realized she was overdoing it. She recognized that her devotion to Christianity came from her desire for others to see her as a saint and give her the necessary attention. Her need for love clouded her sense of judgment, but she quickly adjusted. Love requires accepting people for who they are without intending to change them. Although we crave love and attention, we must be mindful not to overburden others with our care. True love means respecting others' rights to their space and giving them as much attention as they need. It's also about not being selfish and hearing other people's desires. We must always find a balance between showing care and appreciating the freedom of others. Key point 6. Don't let life's complexities lead you astray. Even Samuel Johnson, renowned for his intellectual contributions, endured a rough childhood that greatly affected his life growing up. His father was an unprofitable bookseller, and his mother was uneducated. Their marriage wasn't happy since they didn't have any common interests. During his infant years, he went under the care of a wet nurse whose infected milk impaired his cognitive ability. Furthermore, Johnson later got smallpox, leaving him with many wounds and scars. His physical appearance made him feel inferior, and he withdrew from society. He became very violent toward others even when they tried to help. Though he loved socializing, he hated being teased for his disability, so he kept to himself. Fortunately, he had a run of good luck when he worked for the Gentleman's Magazine. In 1738, the law prohibited journalists from attending parliamentary meetings and publishing actual stories. Journalists would make speeches based on what they could find or hear and post them as originals to keep people informed. Johnson was an avid reader when he was young and developed a passion for writing, so he helped the magazine compose speeches. His compositions were so good that wealthy men in Parliament adopted them and used them as speeches. Despite all the difficulties that befell him, Johnson became a prominent essayist. His challenging life experience helped him realize the world's imperfection early on, and he skillfully used this knowledge in his pieces. He managed to maintain compassion, empathy, and understanding of others. Thanks to his extreme sensitivity and even vulnerability, he could notice things often overlooked by most and shared his discoveries. Skepticism, doubt, and deep reflection on life made him understand that he's no more imperfect than everyone else. Sometimes our limitations help us find purpose in life and achieve success. Although there are many moments that we cannot influence, there's always that part of it that we can control. Samuel Johnson realized that his unique background could be the source of his creativity and self-realization. He embraced his struggles with courage and resilience, determined to make the best of his life. Key point 7. Life is more than pleasure. Every day, we try to balance enjoying life and following moral rules. Sometimes it's challenging for us to deny ourselves what we want and make a choice in favor of what is right. We focus on our desires and needs, forgetting that the universe does not revolve only around us. The journey to ourselves and inner harmony begins with the understanding that we are not perfect. We all have good and bad qualities, and that's okay. They're just a small part of what makes us human. Even when we err, we can still reflect upon our actions and learn valuable lessons for the future. We are both weak and strong, passionate and free, and therefore can challenge ourselves. By realizing our imperfections, we can finally see that they make us unique and allow us to make mistakes and grow. We all have different paths to follow, and we should strive to find our inner balance and strength to live life to the fullest. So, accepting our flaws and using them as stepping stones is crucial. Pride limits our open-mindedness and is one of the biggest problems in our lives. It hides our shortcomings, distorts reality, and makes us believe in our superiority over others, impeding our self-improvement. Getting in touch with your inner self is what builds character. Developing our personality means striving against our weaknesses and gradually creating new attitudes, aspirations, and habits. If we consciously make disciplined, balanced choices, we can change patterns that have been part of us for years. We must realize that the things that lead us astray, such as lust, fear, vanity, and gluttony, are short-term. On the other hand, a true sense of good character that displays courage, honesty, and humility lasts longer. People who develop positive qualities can build stronger relationships and cope better with life's difficulties. A good character gives us the joy and satisfaction we need for a fulfilling life. True happiness comes freely to those who have mastered the art of staying satisfied. Sound moral values allow us to positively influence the people around us and the world. They help us make the right decisions at critical moments and stay honest with ourselves in any situation. Conclusion. Who we are depends not only on the external image we present to the world, but also on our internal state and experiences. Undoubtedly, creative achievements and success matter, but our characters mean even more. When we develop our positive moral qualities, we contribute to the good of the entire world. It helps us remain empathetic and understanding in challenging situations and raises social awareness. The common good depends on our thoughts and actions, so we must protect their purity and justice. The earth needs us as much as we need it. Our primary concern shouldn't evolve around what we can stand to gain from our environment. We must discard the selfish thoughts of placing ourselves first and embrace the power of being a community. As humans, we're liable for each other, and that responsibility is only possible through good traits. Good character is not entirely innate. It's the collective duty of society to teach ourselves to be better with each passing day. To enjoy a satisfying life, we must examine ourselves and correct our previous mistakes. But we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves because we can only improve our characters with good intentions and by paying attention to our feelings. Try this. 1. Explore what life principles you most often follow and analyze how they affect your happiness and satisfaction. 2. Start your day with gratitude to the world. It will help you notice more positive things in your life. 3. Meditate when you feel that negative emotions and feelings are overwhelming. Put everything aside and give yourself a few minutes of total focus.